Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Career Connection Chat, where you state the career and we make the connection. As always, I'm your host, Seth Lawrence, Delaware Military Academy, class of 2022. Love saying that. And welcome to Season 3. We made it. Season 3. Government Officials. Welcome to Season 3, Episode 2. Here we're going to learn what it's like to run for public office, specifically a state senate seat. We're going to hear from Ted Kittila, who's running for the district seat of District 4. But why have me tell you about Ted when he can tell you about himself?
I'm Ted Kittila, and I'm running for Delaware State Senate in our 4th Senate District.
I'm a lawyer and managing partner of a national law firm here in Delaware. But I'm most proud of being a husband of 22 years to Anlor and a father of 2 teens, Alex and CC.
Why am I running for State Senate?
I'm a native Delawarean who believes that we can do better for our children, our neighbors, and our state as a whole.
Delaware state government is seriously off track.
I'm proud to be a product of the Delaware public school system, from kindergarten through the University of Delaware.
Our children deserve a world-class education, yet despite spending more per student than most other states, Delaware's schools consistently struggle. We can do better. We need adequate funding to attract the best teachers. We've just been through one of our most challenging periods. The effects of COVID isolation on our children's mental health has been profound. We need to fully fund mental health support at all grade levels. Our neighbors deserve strong communities where families are safe and jobs are plentiful.
We need to be supporting our first responders, not defunding them.
We need to attract employers through sound fiscal and tax policies. We need to support seniors through fair taxation. A $1 billion surplus should not be squandered on legislative pet projects. All Delawareans deserve real change. One-party rule has led to more of the same in Dover. We need to restore balance with new ideas and not just more of the same old political business.
I need your help. I need your support and your vote. We can do better. Together, we can make Delaware the very best place to live, to work, and to raise our families.
If you want to know more about my campaign, visit my website at www.tedfordelaware.com. My name is Ted Kittila, and I approve this message.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Season 3, Episode 2. With me today is Ted Kittila, Delaware State candidate for District 4. Very excited. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great, Seth. Thanks for having me.
I'm very happy to have you.
All right.
Now, I'm gonna get out of here. This is your
Sounds
job.
good. Sounds good.
All right. Let's start off with the first question. So, can you explain who you are and where you got to where you are now?
Sure, Seth. I'd be happy to. My name is Ted Kittila, and I am running for state senate. This is my rack card that I actually have for when I go around and visit and talk with people. But this is for Senate District 4, which is northern Newcastle County. It goes up to the state line. I am a practicing attorney. I'm originally from southern Delaware, but I have a law firm up here in outside of Wilmington. And I am running for a seat in the Delaware General Assembly for State Senate.
That's amazing. Now, what characteristics would make a good person in this career path?
Well, that's a good question. I think that probably the best thing that a person could hope for in getting a state senator is, number one, that the person is responsive and approachable. All those things are really, really key, because you have to have somebody that you can go to and talk. Because the state senator's got to get things done for the people. And there's a lot of things around here that need to be done, whether it's simple things like potholes or it's changes in policy on how we do things in the state, which is, getting taxes in line so that more jobs can come here to the state of Delaware. So all these things are really important. Probably my biggest issue that I'm going to be focusing on is schools and promoting charter schools, making sure that Delaware's kids get the best education possible. I'm a product of the Delaware public school system. It did an awful lot for me, so I want to return that. So that's very important for me, Seth.
That's amazing. And we met at the Delaware Charter School rally down at the Dover in votes for keeping charter schools alive and keeping the funding, which that's how we met. I appreciate you guys doing that because I'm a product of the Delaware public school system. I went to Delaware Military Academy. I went to Bunker Hill down in Middletown, and I went to Everett Meredith Middle School.
Yes,
so,
sir.
And Delaware Public School have done a lot for the community, and I want to keep them going.
Absolutely. And I was glad to meet you there, and you reached out to me that day, and I was so impressed with you and your colleagues. They were all down there standing up for what they believe in on that. And I think that's important. There was a lot of people that were out there to support you guys that day, and I think that that's really key. So I'm really in favor of making sure that Delaware keeps that tradition going.
Absolutely. Now, what are your favorite things to do in your career?
Well, as an attorney, I do practice in the Delaware courts. I'm what's called a courtroom attorney. I spend a lot of time writing papers and submitting arguments to the court. I spend probably most of my time working with clients and getting them ready for cases that are on a trial calendar. We do trials. We do a number of trials each year. And that gets very exciting. When it's time to go to trial, it's sort of like the big game. It's sort of like the final exam. You have to be ready. And so I've got a great team of people here that work with me. I've been doing this now for over 20 years. And it doesn't get old as far as it goes. I mean, every case is a new opportunity to learn about a new aspect of a business or some sort of problem. It's a chance to get to meet new people, and it's actually it can be a lot of fun at times. It's a lot of hard work too, and it can be very stressful, but at the same time you have to sort of enjoy what you're doing.
Now, I gotta ask, what's some of your least favorite things to do?
Least favorite things. Okay, well, sometimes in the practice of law, we have some pretty contentious situations dealing with difficult people, whether they be opposing counsel or maybe it's a difficult person on the other side of the case. That's tough. I mean, I try to promote a situation where we're working together towards a common goal. And sometimes that's not the way it works. Sometimes you have to go in there and tackle these issues head on. And so a lot of times lawyers will use terms to describe, battle, to describe it as a battle or a fight, and that can be tough. It can be very fatiguing. Now, my father was military. He was in real battle. It's a very different thing. I understand, but for us as attorneys, we look at it as sometimes as a fight, and it does get old at times. So you have to have a lot of patience and a strong stomach for some of that too.
And so that's pretty interesting. And now you're running for the state Senate seat of District 4. Now, what is like the day-to-day like for someone running for like an elected position?
So that's what I'm doing right now to get elected is for state senate is to really sort of go door to door to prospective voters in my district, and I visit with people, talk with them about the issues that's affecting them. I spent a lot of time going to events where I met you. That was something I wanted to go down there and show support. So sometimes it's just showing up to show support for people. Most of the time is spent with the door-to-door activities. When I do go door-to-door, I typically approach them with my rack card, share this information with them, and I try to get them to my website, which is ted4delaware.com. I'm sure I'll say that once again before we go, but that's where I like to try to send people to, Seth. And then they can learn a lot about my campaign. So, and I do spend a lot of time doing interviews. I'm on the radio or I'm talking with various reporters about the issues. It's a lot of studying too. I'm spending a lot of time. I feel like I'm back in school again because I have to read an awful lot of things about what's going on. And there's a number of issues that maybe I haven't dealt with in the practice of law, but there's things that are very sensitive to people right now with, what do we do for school safety? How do we promote a better way to handle certain situations with taxation here? The inflation issues regarding, prices. What about police protection for neighborhoods? Those are types of things that I need to sort of climb into and get smart on.
I think that's pretty interesting stuff, because it seems like it's a busy job, and just like conversations like this is just meaningful for me being a voter. Just being able to like sit down and talk to someone who makes decisions like that and makes laws like that, it's meaningful, because it's not. I think you're like there's not a lot of elected officials that would take the time to sit down and talk to me or talk to people and put the time aside. So
well, Seth, when you came up to me and talked to me, I realized that you're a smart guy. You've got some thoughts on where you're going with your own future. I mean, you're off to college next year, and I think that's pretty exciting. So you're exactly the type of person that I want to sit down and talk with, because I need to figure out what's on your mind, and that's really key, because if I don't know what's on your mind, how am I able to represent you? And that's what's most important to me.
Now, not a lot of people know much about what it's like to be a lawyer, what it's like to be a politician or whatever, but they do watch TV and they do watch movies. So, like, in your best opinion, what do you think is the most accurate political movie or TV show?
Political. Oh, I'm not a real big fan of the political movies, because I think sometimes they show some of the darker sides of politics that makes for very, very interesting sort of movies. If you're going to ask me the same question about law, then I do have a really good recommendation for that. So is that where you're heading next?
Yes.
Okay. So this is the lawyer's favorite response, and this is my favorite response. If you want to know what it's like to practice law, there are two very good movies out there. One is A Civil Action with John Travolta. That's a terrific movie. That is a very interesting movie, and it actually does show an awful lot about the practice of law. The other one, and you're not going to believe this, but it's My Cousin Vinny.
Oh.
Believe it or not, My Cousin Vinny is considered to be the lawyer's favorite movie, and it is. It's sort of like the way when people go on vacation, they talk about National Lampoon's Vacation, or if they play golf, they talk about Caddyshack. But with lawyers, it's My Cousin Vinny, because there are so many things in there that are so spot on with the practice of law. But I think that's something I do think about quite a bit. There's some really excellent movies out there, and some of them have really nailed it. But those are the two right off the top of my head.
Right. Now, this program is about mentoring and connecting people with like different careers and people who are already doing the things they want to do. So, who was your mentor, and like what was one of the best lessons they taught you?
So I've had a lot of mentors throughout my life. And I've worked in Washington, D.C., and I've worked in New York, and I've worked here in Delaware. I had a very good mentor who was an older lawyer that I worked with down in southern Delaware. His name was Carl Haller, and he was a terrific mentor. And the one thing that I learned from him was to sort of enjoy the day-to-day practice. And sometimes it's just doing some of the mundane stuff just to get the job done, finding some element that you enjoy in that practice. Carl was an excellent teacher that way. He was a public defender and allowed me to walk around the courthouse with him, and I spent a lot of time with him, so he was an excellent mentor. I had a really good mentor named Mark Foreman over in Washington, D.C. And Mark really, I worked for Senator Roth at that time. And Mark was a very good mentor to me, because he made sure that I got fully invested in projects that I was working on for the senator. He taught me an awful lot just about sticking with a project and just how to present myself. So those are important things. Find those people. You got to find that mentor to really show you the way to do it. And sometimes people will try to assign you a mentor. Sometimes that works. Sometimes it doesn't. If it doesn't work, it's okay. It seems to be that a lot of people that have a mentor assigned to them, that's not something that's really organic. You need to have an organic relationship that develops. And when it does happen, you'll know it, and it's wonderful.
Now, I've been a native Delawarean for ever, my entire life. But I still see a lot of problems around the state,
Sure.
not necessarily just my own district, but just all around the state in general. So, if elected, what are some of your plans? Like, what are some of your projects you're going to do?
Sure. So the biggest issues that I'm really focused on right now are schools and the economy, and then also crime. So our schools really need to have more support. We need to have a situation where our schools are providing young people like you a world-class education. That's what I received. I got a world-class education. And there's ways that we can foster that with making sure that there's accountability and that there's transparency in how we're doing, how we're spending state funds. We need to continue to foster charter schools. And one of the things that you were out there standing up against was a moratorium that they were trying to place on charter schools. So that's critical. We need to make sure that our charter schools are supported and strong. With respect to the economy, there's things that we can do. We can help our seniors out by making sure that the senior tax credit is expanded so that there's more people that are able to get more of their money back from the state. We have $1 billion surplus in the state of Delaware. $1 billion. And a lot of times trying to find a way to spend that sensibly means taking some time to actually think about where it could have the most impact. And I think with seniors, it has a big impact. I think on our schools, it has a big impact. And then also first responders. Our first responders need to be supported. We need to encourage the idea that our first responders are valuable to us, and defunding is not the answer. It's we need to have a real dedication to our first responders because they have real dedication to us. So these are really the big issues that I'm focused on. There's a number of ways that I'm looking at making sure that Delawareans can get through this time of inflation right now. It's pretty tough at the gas pump. So we're looking at a lot of different things that we can do to make it a little bit easier. And one of the things I'm working on is I'm trying to work on a proposal to make sure that there's a gas tax holiday that is passed so that we can get through this inflationary period. So these are all things that I'm thinking about.
Wow, absolutely. And man, you being a lawyer means you're good at negotiating and getting things done. So do you plan to kind of take those skills that you learned being a lawyer and using them on the Senate floor if elected to kind of help your colleagues come to the right decision as far as Delaware law?
It's spot on. That's exactly what I want to do. Look, I have a skill set. The skill set that I have is the ability to be able to analyze certain problems, walk through the solutions, and try to negotiate an outcome. The idea is compromise. We have a concept for a long time in the state of Delaware called the Delaware Way, and that's we get along with each other. The fact is that we're all neighbors in this state. My goal in there is not to go in there and win every single solitary issue on that. That doesn't work. That's not politics. Politics is the art of compromise. So spending time trying to work through and try to come up with solutions that benefits everybody is the goal. So my view is that it's a win-win situation when we can sit down and try to hammer out something that understands where they're coming from and where I'm coming from. That's probably one of the driving forces too behind why I'm doing this. Delaware is a one-party state. I'm running as a Republican, and it's going to be a challenge because of the fact that the other party controls so much of the General Assembly. But that's not something I'm worried about because I know that in everybody's heart of hearts, they're trying to do the best they can for the citizens of the state. That's my goal as well.
And what would you say to people who kind of lost confidence in the system or lost confidence in the way, not just the Delaware Senate, but United States Congress and how Delaware, what would you say to them? Or it was like, it's not really worth voting. I don't feel heard. What would you say to them?
It's funny that you should say that, because I remember when I worked in Washington, D.C., I was sitting in the Senate gallery and I was watching what was going on. And this was probably 30 years ago. And I was sitting there and an older man came over and sat down, and it was late at night and it was a late night debate. And he asked me what I was doing, and I said, I'm just absolutely fascinated by what's going on. I'm loving this. I'm watching this. He asked me about what I was doing for the summer, and I told him I was working in the senator's office. And he said, well, this is all phony. This is all completely phony. And I told him, no, it's not. It's not phony. We're all working on this. We're all trying to do something. And I said, at least I'm trying to do the best I can. That's what I'm trying to do. And I think that, and I gave him my spiel that I thought that we were in this together, and that we need to all sort of try our best to make the system better. When I finished speaking, and I spoke from the heart. And I think that that's important. So I was speaking from the heart. I remember him telling me, he goes, I can't believe it. He says, I've been living in Washington a long time. He says, every once in a while, I think that the system is done, and he says, and I meet somebody like you that really still believes in it. And he said, and he said, you know what? You've actually renewed my confidence. And I think that that's what's important, is that it's easy to get very upset with how things are going and saying, it doesn't count, my vote doesn't count, or it's not working, it's just not fair. Look, you've got to get back into the game. You've got to get in there, and you've got to actually believe that the system can be changed and that you can do something. I believe that. Absolutely. And I'm on the side of the aisle that does not have it that much support at this point in time. But I believe that something's going to change, and that there's going to be a lot of good that's going to come out of it. So you have to have faith, you have to have confidence, and you know what? It's a lot of hard work, but I believe that we can do that. And hopefully, maybe my words right now are going to somebody else. Just like that night when I was sitting there in the Senate gallery talking to that gentleman, I'm hoping that some of those words might inspire somebody else.
Now, you touched on it a little bit about Delaware being one-party state and you being Republican. And right now, you see it a lot in the world, and you see it a lot especially in our country, where there seems to be a division between Democrats and Republicans and the parties, policies, see the donkeys and the elephants and all that. What is your plan to kind of unite those two fronts into making a decision?
Well, I think part of it is, there are real differences between the parties. So anyone who sits there and says, oh, no, we're all, there's no differences. No, there are true policy differences. Probably one of the biggest ways that you can do and try to get your message across is try to realize where your mandate comes. Your mandate comes from the people that you're representing. And if you're representing the people, a lot of times it's not a Democrat or a Republican issue. Sometimes it's just a sensible policy route that you're trying to take people on. And so that's a big part of what I'm doing, is I'm trying to take people to a sensible policy decision. Not something that's party line, but something that's sensible, something that reaches the goal of making sure that we're all on the same page.
Now, last question. Is there anything you would like to say to our viewers and potential voters in District 4?
Well, I told you I was going to pitch it one more time. I would hope that they come and visit my website at www.ted4delaware.com, ted4delaware.com, and I hope they get to know me a little bit. But also, please come up and approach me. I think I'm an approachable guy, and I'm glad to have met you, Seth, and I'm excited for November. November 8th is the election. Get out there and vote. You can make a difference out there. So that's what I'd like to share.
Absolutely. Hey, if you have viewers, if you're in District 4 and you like Kittila and what he said, get out there and vote. The poll's open, and please vote. Thank you for doing this, Ted. Appreciate it a lot.
Thank you, Seth. It's so good to have you in my office today.
Again, thanks for watching Career Connection Chats. I hope you learned something great. I hope you learned something you want to teach other people. And if you want to be on our show, please email us at careerconnectionchats@gmail.com. And if you want to ask our guest speaker your own questions, please email at the email posted below. To see more, please visit our YouTube channel and share what you've learned.